I'm Peter Macmillan, founder and CEO of Meisterline, the world's leading provider of professional expertise metrics. The following case study shows how measuring the expertise of lawyers using KUJI ratings reveals the all too common disconnect between a lawyer's formal status and their actual level of expertise, and how our reliance on position titles can lead to poor financial and legal outcomes. We have other videos that describe in detail how we go about measuring lawyers' expertise and much more. You can find them listed in the video description below, and you can subscribe to this channel to be notified when we release more. In this case study, we'll be focusing on the hypothetical mid-sized American law firm Klymer Driscoll. While this firm's data don't represent any particular firm, they're not atypical of the situation in many law firms across many jurisdictions around the world today. Klymer has 347 fee earners, 322 of whom have had their expertise measured on the KUJI rating scale. As is our normal practice, lawyers with fewer than 2 years practicing experience were not assessed. For simplicity, each lawyer had their expertise rated for just one area of law. Usually, lawyers should be assessed across all their main specialties. Klymer Driscoll's 4 offices are in New York, Los Angeles, Washington DC and Miami, and it offers legal services across 8 practice areas, namely banking and finance, corporate commercial, employment, insurance, investment funds, private client, real estate and tax. All the data I'll be analysing here are included in the spreadsheet linked in the description below. Feel free to download these data into Excel or Google Sheets to discover for yourself the kinds of game-changing insights you'll get when you know precisely how expert your lawyers really are. This chart measures lawyers' expertise along the horizontal axis, with the units being the 99-point KUJI rating scale, which runs from 0.1 to 9.9. The vertical axis counts the number of Klymer Driscoll lawyers who have the same KUJI ratings, that is, lawyers with the same level of expertise. Now we'll start with our first rank in Klymer's position hierarchy, associates. While these most junior lawyers tend to cluster towards the lower end of the KUJI rating scale, they also extend up the scale, and those with ratings of 5.0 and above are far from junior in their capabilities as legal specialists. Next are the senior associates. They cluster in the center of the expertise rating scale, which is to be expected. These lawyers typically form the backbone of specialist teams across their firms. Special counsel usually have a less well-defined status than other lawyers in a firm, but typically are considered to be more senior and therefore more expert than senior associates. And that's generally what we see here with Klymer Driscoll's special counsel, although there is considerable overlap evident within these data. Consultants can also have somewhat vague and sometimes confusing status within a law firm. Klymer has only 6 of them, and they are at the more expert end of the scale, though again, they extend from associate levels at 5.5 up to the master level consultant who has a rating of 9.3. Lastly, we have the firm's partners, which includes both salary and equity partners, but I haven't distinguished between them here, as is common from a client-facing perspective. As we'd expect, the partners at Klymer Driscoll include among their ranks the most expert lawyers in the firm. But let's now add further structure to our analysis. By overlaying the 6 KUJI bands of novice, developing, competent, proficient, expert and master, we get a better qualitative sense of individuals and groupings of lawyers. We have other videos that describe in greater depth what these bands represent and what they tell us about how lawyers with different levels of expertise think differently from each other. You can find them linked in the description below. So let's examine the distribution of lawyers within these bands, comparing position title with expertise development. The picture among the novice and developing lawyers at Klymer Driscoll is very much of associates only. No surprises here. The most junior lawyers are also the least expert. Keep in mind we didn't assess any lawyers with fewer than 2 years practicing experience, which would have increased the number of lawyers in the novice band. The reason we don't measure these very junior lawyers is simply because their specialist expertise, which is what KUJI ratings focus on, will very rarely have developed to a material level. As it is, there are 59 associates in these initial bands of the KUJI rating scale. Among Klymer's competent level lawyers, we see a mix of 37 associates, 31 senior associates, and 3 special counsel. And while the more senior lawyers are clearly clustering at the upper end of this group of lawyers in an expertise sense, we have all 3 levels of seniority represented at the 4.7 and 4.8 rating levels. What we can say is that if promotion to more senior roles was based solely on a lawyer's level of expertise, there are 23 associates who could be promoted on the basis that they have the same independently assessed KUJI ratings as these senior associates. Alternatively, some senior associates might have been promoted prematurely. I just need to add that given we have assessed these lawyers for just one area of law each, we might not have identified the areas in which they are most expert, which is to say some senior associates might be significantly more expert in other areas of law, and that is the basis for their position titles. Things get more complicated when we look at the group of proficient lawyers at Klymer. Here, there are 13 associates, 50 senior associates, which is the biggest population of senior associates in any band, 32 special counsel, 2 consultants, and 9 partners. The obvious takeaway from this snapshot is that at these levels of expertise, a lawyer's position title may mean very little. Indeed, they could even be misleading if a client or someone else relied too much on titles when choosing their mid-level experts. For instance, there are some associates in this group who are going to be substantially less expensive to hire on an hourly fee basis than those more expensive senior associates, special counsel, and even partners who are objectively less expert. That will be a surprise to a lot of people, and many clients would obviously be very keen to have this additional level of information available to them. When we turn to Klymer's certified experts in Band 5 of the KUJI rating scale, 57 partners dominate the ranks of these exceptionally capable legal specialists. Then there are 12 special counsel, 3 consultants, and somewhat surprisingly, 1 senior associate. This is where titles become more relevant again, though because there are still likely to be differences in hourly fees even among the partners, knowing how expert these specialists really are would almost definitely lead to a more cost-effective selection of lawyers for a given case or project. And that 1 senior associate would seem to be especially good value if a specialist with a KUJI rating around 7.1 was needed to be part of a team. Among master-level lawyers, we can see a more rarefied group of specialists. Here we have 12 partners and just 1 consultant. What this confirms is that while having the title of partner or consultant is a necessary condition for lawyers in this category, it is not sufficient. We've already seen many partners and consultants who are well below this group in terms of their expertise, which reinforces the value of knowing how expert each partner actually is, both from a resourcing and pricing perspective for the law firm management team and for clients who don't want to miss out on getting these master-level experts simply because they were unable to identify them. Percentage-wise, only around 15% of Klymer Driscoll's partners are master-level lawyers, so there is approximately a 6 in 7 chance that randomly choosing a partner just because they are called a partner would result in hiring a non-master level one. Finding a true master needs much more than guesswork. To understand some of the differences between expert and master level lawyers, I suggest you watch our videos on Band 5 and Band 6 legal specialists linked in the description below. Now let's get back to a view of all Klymer Driscoll's lawyers again. We'll keep the overlay of the KUJI bands, but separate the female and male lawyers to see what this perspective might tell us about the effectiveness of Klymer's diversity and inclusion policies. So with female lawyers in the top chart and male lawyers below, we can quickly rerun the previous analysis on a band-by-band basis, starting with Bands 1 and 2, that is, with novice and developing lawyers. The distribution of female and male associates across these 2 bands is similar, with a slight upward skewing for the men. However, when the total number of female and male lawyers in these bands is calculated, the significance of any differences appears small. Moving to competent lawyers in Band 3, we have more than just associates to count. The various ratios are, for competent associates, 17 female to 20 male, for competent senior associates, 13 to 18, and for competent special counsel, 1 to 2. Again, these numbers aren't that much different, and while there does appear to be skewing again in favour of the men, I wouldn't say it is significant. But when we look at Band 4, which defines our proficient lawyers, there is evidence of material skewing in favour of female lawyers at the senior associate level. The ratio of women to men among proficient associates is 8:5, for proficient senior associates 35:15, for proficient special counsel 14:18, for proficient consultants 1:1, and for proficient partners 3 women to 6 men. Now we are getting more significant results. The ratio of female to male proficient senior associates at Klymer Driscoll is heavily weighted towards the women. Plus, it is skewed with more high-level proficient senior associates being women rather than men. We'll look further at this in a moment. Let's now add in Klymer's expert and master lawyers. The big change here is the number of male partners in the expert band, which at 55 is more than double the 23 female expert partners. The only point I want to make concerning this is that it is not just a matter of there being fewer female to male partners at Klymer Driscoll, but also that there are simply fewer female experts in the firm. If we look at just the expert band, the ratio of women to men is 23:50. There are more than double the number of male experts compared to female experts, regardless of what their titles are. I have discussed this situation in the lawyer diversity case study and won't go over it again in detail here. Rather, I want to return to focus on Klymer's senior associates, which, as we've seen, extend from being competent, proficient, up to expert. So let's reframe our charts and look just at senior associates, beginning with female senior associates and adding the male senior associates below. This is where we get a clearer view of the skewing results, showing more female senior associates with more expertise than their male counterparts. What this tells me, in addition to the previous finding that there were far fewer female experts than male experts, is that the women are stacking up at the pre-partner level and are not progressing through to higher levels of expertise. Though of course, there are some female lawyers in the master's band and they are not underrepresented there. Something is happening either on the professional development front or in terms of hiring expert female lawyers, which has left a very clear gap in the number of expert women in this firm. I also spoke about this in the lawyer diversity case study. Here I wanted to highlight the fact that titles have nothing to do with this relative deficiency in female experts at Klymer Driscoll. That then is the end of the position title case study, in which we used KUJI ratings and KUJI bands to highlight the limitations of using titles to identify different levels of expertise among legal specialists. The implications of what we discovered are profound on many levels, from finding the most cost-effective lawyers for a given level of expertise without any regard for position title, to discovering what could be systemic failures within Klymer Driscoll's talent development and recruitment practices, which have left the firm lacking expert female lawyers. If you'd like to learn more about the KUJI rating scale and what we do at Meisterline, we've created a series of videos covering the origins, mechanics, and applications of KUJI ratings and our other professional expertise metrics. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to like and subscribe and connect with us on LinkedIn and on our website at meisterline.com. Thanks for watching.